Yeah, thank you very much for that, Joan. It's funny, actually, when you sit there listening to somebody reading out a citation for you, you think, you know, did I really do all that? And I'm sitting next to Ian Ambrose. I don't know how many of you know Ian Ambrose, but what I heard is light rail. I have not done light rail, so we need to get more from Ian in light rail. Okay, let's see if I can get this working. Oh, David, you did say it was temperamental. Just press the button. There we go. Ooh, is that right? That is definitely not right. Ah, there we go, that's me. So, I'm going to splurge a little bit on my time, but I'm going to keep an eye on Joan, so she's going to make sure I don't go too far, or David. So welcome. As Joan's already said, it's a great pleasure to be here and actually to see people in real 3D form and shape. I must admit I got a little bit institutionalised over the last year and started to think people are probably about that big looking at the TV screens, so it's actually great to see a bunch of new faces and friends from the past. So that is absolutely brilliant. So I'm going to spend the next couple of minutes just talking about what I see, my personal views, as the opportunities for the industry and also the challenges. And a lot of these elements are covered by a number of the speakers today, so I've got no intention of stealing anybody's thunder, but I do think we have an opportunity as a community, as an engineering profession, to build that lovely phrase from Sir Isaac Newton of building the shoulder of giants. We've got a long way to go, we've got plenty of opportunity. So here's just some of my thoughts. And I think the first big one is the value for money proposition, the value for money challenge that we have. And so this is just a fairly simple graphic. It's not the best quality, so please forgive me for that. But I pinched this from some colleagues at the Rail Delivery Group. And what it shows, or what the pointer would show if it was working, it's given up. But what it shows is actually passenger footfall at the network rail stations. There's different types of graphics that's out there, but the heart of it shows we're actually increasing the number of passenger footfall. It's going up. That's a good news story, but it is still in the round half of what it was at pre-COVID levels. And that is, be under no illusion, a real challenge for all of us. So I'm personally drawing an extrapolation to that, to the value for money proposition. Fewer people means less money, means it is more important than ever that we focus on where we're spending our hard-earned money, the government's money, our people's money. All right. So a huge challenge for us, and a large part as well is about regaining that confidence, but recognising there's so much we can do, there's so much the government has to do, and if there is another variant of COVID out there, what does that mean to us? But we can do our part within that, making sure passengers feel comfortable to go on the trains, it's safe, and it's also, we're supporting our colleagues out in the freight industry. So the next theme, and I like this. I've bumped into some of my colleagues from the ORR, and they're sort of sitting towards the back. But I quite like the PIM. I'm not doing very well with technology today, so not to worry. But the top left of the screen, quick hands up. Who is familiar and knows about the PIM, the precursor indicator model? So hands up. So some of you. Okay, so I'll give you a quick explanation. So this really is, and some of you might disagree with me, but it really is a lagging indicator. It's a roll-up of several periods worth of incidents for different asset types, and that gives us a steer as to how we're doing in terms of potential train accident safety. Okay? So what we can see is the top strata, if you like, which is made up from track, signalling, level crossings and a few other disciplines. In the round, the risk is being really well managed. It's getting smaller, although it doesn't necessarily easily appear on that graph, but the big swathe of blue, the light blue at the bottom, that's earthworks. Now, we've had a few instances with earthworks down at Watford where there was a pretty nasty bank slip. Nobody was hurt, but a train derailed, but it could have been a lot worse. And then if you look at the bottom right, Carmont, you will all heard of Carmont, Stonehaven, where passengers lost their lives. So that's what's driving the earthworks PIM. But the message I want to get across to you here is we have a challenge in continually managing our assets safely. We have that opportunity. We're not doing a bad job, but we need to make sure whatever we do, whether it's new infrastructure or whether it's innovation, that it works together as a system. We're in the game of systems, not silos. So if we make a change in one part, what does it mean to the rest of it? And together, we will continue to reduce that safety train accident precursor model to a better place. But it's not just about the infrastructure, it is about people. So over on the right-hand side, you can see there's a reminder that it's also about track worker safety. And we've had colleagues who have died in the line of duty in the last couple of years. And that simply is not good enough. They are like you and me. They turned up to do a good job and they didn't go home. And I do not want that for anybody else. And it's not nice indeed for anybody's families either. So there's huge opportunities. And I think I'll just refer to the bottom graphic there. Technology. There's all sorts of really clever ways we can innovate and improve the activities that we're doing. And again, there'll be some conversations about new technology here today. So I've not had a sign yet from Joan, so that's, and David, that's doing well. So I'm doing all right. So just a quick word of sustainability. That's another big challenge for us. COP26 is around the corner, isn't it? So we've got big targets for carbon reduction. The railways, we should celebrate. We are actually one of the lowest carbon forms of transport. However, we can do so much better. And something I was reflecting on with some of my colleagues in the last couple of days is actually within the track system, the opportunity is not only clever manufacturing and new materials, but is actually making sure we're stewarding the assets that we've already got, because the carbon is locked into the rails and the sleepers. That's where the main carbon repository is. So if we change those, our carbon cost goes up. We're also one of the biggest landowners off on the right-hand side, so we need to be mindful of what we do. Are we looking after our assets in the right possible way? Our line side is an asset. And I will confess, in the last few years, I and probably some of my colleagues have treated the line side as a liability and not an asset. And we need to be changing, and indeed are changing our focus on that. Reliability and resilience, the bottom left. There's a question about climate change. Where do we get the best value for money? Making sure our infrastructure is resilient for that 1 in 1,000-year event? Or is it we're able to recover more quickly when those sort of events happen? We as good engineers need to be considering that. And I've touched on the minimal waste and the use of materials and my earlier comment about carbon reduction, so I'll just skip on. So what I tend to try to do and bang the drum regularly is all of us need to be working together as a team, as a system. The RSSB has supported all of us in actually curating something called the Rail Technical Strategy. There are 5 elements within it, and I would say to you, if you are doing activity and it sits out with those 5 areas, easy to use for the passengers, is low emissions, optimising our train operations, making sure our infrastructure is reliable and easy to maintain, or actually improving the data, and as I personally like to say, turning data into information, into knowledge, and then into wisdom. If we're not doing that, it probably isn't where we should need to be spending our money. So please consider that. So I guess, since I've not had the next flag waved at me, I'm doing all right. I think I'm going to wrap up at that point and say thank you. Enjoy the day. It's going to be, well, I'm going to really enjoy it. I'm going to make some notes. I'm going to do the closing a little bit later on. But as Joan earlier said, today is about not just listening to the presentations, but it's actually that networking, the chance to have a conversation and debate what you hear. So thank you very much.